Welcome, everybody, to our weight loss workshop. And I'm going to be continuing my presentation on weight loss is multifactorial. So this is part 2. And I'm going to start out with talking a little bit about assessing the patient and what labs are being tested, when a patient comes in and presents with, different issues. So the more conventional methods would be, the CMP, so complete metabolic panel, the CBC, lipid panel, hemoglobin A1C, a fasting insulin, CRP level, vitamin D, thyroid panel. So these labs are very beneficial. But what the more conventional model is not doing is really looking deeper into foundational things that could be going on. So some of the tests that we would run would be like a cardiometabolic panel. So this is a more sophisticated way of looking at markers that are associated with, with cardiovascular disease or just inflammation, that type of thing. The GI map test, we do this test. We have done so many of these. And we continue to do them because this, in my opinion, is foundationally one of the most important things that you can do for a patient. Then we do food sensitivities. It's very important for people to understand what foods are causing inflammation in their body, what foods are causing an immune response. Our immune system actually, reacts to certain foods as if it's foreign. So this is an important piece. Micronutrient deficiencies. Organic acid testing can be so crucial as well, really looking at metabolites and oxidative stress and neurotransmitters. And there's just so many ways that we can assess patients from a foundational level. And then, of course, hormones. So this is just introducing you to certain opportunities within your scope of practice, but I will talk a little bit more about some of these tests in more detail. But like I said, basic labs can actually be very valuable. I do feel like, these tests are being done, but then that's it. Patients get tests done that come to see us. They get tests done with their, at their doctor's office, once or twice a year, and they have no clue what the results were. So, this is part of the system that really I want to work to improve, because I am all about educating the patient, empowering the patient. If something is elevated or not within normal range, like, these are conversations that we need to have with our patients. So complete blood count obviously is super important. It can reflect cellular and immune health. Comprehensive metabolic panel, most people understand that that's going to be really significant, and just looking at liver function, looking at other metabolic homeostasis markers. Obviously, I talked about the fasting serum insulin, which I should be doing. Hemoglobin A1C is obviously a lab marker that reflects glycemic responses over a 3-month period. And that's a good test. It's not a great test because it gives you an average. It doesn't really tell you if there's variability throughout the day. So we're going to be talking about continuous glucose monitoring, where you can see the actual variability throughout the day, whereas the hemoglobin A1C, you may be high and low all day long, but the highs and lows are averaging out to be within a normal range. Lipid profile is widely recognized as a valuable tool in assessing cardiometabolic health. Triglycerides, HDL, people are used to these, and it really is all about digging deeper into those labs and not just taking what you see as at face value, because some things we just they could be reflecting other things going on. And then there's lipid particle testing that some people are starting to look at. So it's really not about the the actual level of the result. It's more about the size of the particle test and or the lipid particle. And again, so there's so many different ways to dig deeper into what's going on with somebody's health. So the impact of the standard American diet is that it is causing fat accumulation, and this fat accumulation is really an inflammatory accumulation. So again, it's surrounding the liver, the skeletal muscle, all of these vital organs that are now being affected. The standard American diet causes mitochondrial dysfunction and metabolic inflexibility. It is literally killing our cells, causing more oxidative stress in the body, inflammation, etc. It's killing off all of our healthy bacteria in our gut. So now everybody is walking around with some type of gut issue, literally everybody. It is going to, the diet, you just modifies the blood glucose response, and this diet, because the majority of it is not real food, the immune system is now involved. So immune activating cytokine responses, again, inflammatory responses. So this is what the food that we're consuming is actually doing to our body. So we're going to dig into the macros just a little bit more. So I'll start out with the carbohydrates. So carbohydrates are molecules that consist of carbon, hydrogen, and oxygen. So these are sugars and starches, plants, fiber falls into that category. Video up here. And really our ability to metabolize carbohydrates declines with age. And it also declines as your muscle goes down as well. Our metabolic health determines the amount of carbohydrate we can actually consume. Everybody has a different threshold, and everybody obviously responds to different foods so differently. But again, just understanding that carbohydrates are really dictated by the health of the individual. Gut health determines the type of carb a person can have. So there's different types of carbohydrates. There's simple, there's complex, there's, this resistant starch. And so keeping that in mind, but again, the majority of the carbs that people are eating are the simple, refined carbohydrates. So like I said, you have your really healthy type of carbohydrates that are really in like fruits and vegetables. Those are complex. Then you have your simple carbs, so your refined sugars. And then you have your starchy, complex carbohydrates, potatoes and pasta and stuff like that. So most people will first want to know, how much should I eat? How many grams of carbohydrates should I consume? And while everyone is so completely different, I think it's just important to understand that carbohydrates from pasta, bread, cereal, etc., are not essential. We actually could live our entire life without those types of foods, because we get carbohydrates from fruits, vegetables, some dairy products, and that is more than enough to provide our cells for energy. If somebody is eating the more starchy carbs, so like the bread, the pasta, the cereal, I really recommend 1 to 2 times per day, not eating carbohydrates at all meals, because again, the whole goal is really to limit all of these insulin spikes all day long. And that's really pushing it. Sometimes I'm recommending, go 3 days without eating any carbohydrates. I mean, you can have them occasionally, but in my opinion, if it works for the patient, we really shouldn't be eating this on a regular basis, especially 3 to 4 times a day. You must always eat carbohydrates with protein and fats. I mentioned this earlier. It really will help bring down the spikes of the blood sugar. And I'll kind of demonstrate that in a slide later. Carbohydrates are digested into sugar almost immediately. So you really want to look for high fiber carbohydrates. Again, high fiber is going to help bring down those blood sugars as well. Processed and refined carbohydrates can cause insulin resistance pretty quickly. So if you're eating a diet that is highly processed, very carbohydrate based, and you're just getting your blood sugars checked and your blood sugars are fine, your fasting or his blood sugar's fine, just know that insulin resistance is probably already happening. It just isn't indicated by the blood sugars yet, because blood sugar elevation is end stage. Once you have a elevated blood sugar, a fasting blood sugar, you definitely have insulin resistance, because insulin's job is to keep the blood sugar within range. So our meals should look like this: some type of protein, vegetable, put some maybe avocado in there, healthy fats. I mean, this meal is not going to spike your blood sugar. Now, this is going to cause a significant spike because it's a lot of carbohydrates and there's no protein to offset, and there's no fats. Well, there might be some oil in there that will help. But again, you never want to have just some type of carbohydrate by itself. Protein. So talk a little bit about protein. Proteins are essentially individual chains or individual amino acids, or they're chains. So they're peptides. And protein is absolutely essential for so many things. The body relies on these amino acids for chemical pathways, hormone signaling, maintenance of muscle mass, enzyme production and function. Absolutely crucial to health. The body will actually break down muscle tissue before it utilizes fat if nutritional needs are not met. So this is important, unless you are strategic. So essentially, so what people do when they lose weight is they restrict their calories. So when they restrict their calories, so what happens after a period of time, they're in a deprived state. So then they're going to start burning through muscle. So this is not what you want when you're overweight, because that happens pretty quickly. So that's why I'm always talking about strategic weight loss. You have to make sure that your body is using fat when you're losing weight, because again, it's not how the body works. Because of this excess inflammatory fat, the body will not go to that. So you have to be strategic. Important to know that the body cannot store extra protein. So that's going to be the first to be used up and utilized. Carbohydrates and fats can be stored, as most people know. Protein needs really vary amongst individuals. And we will talk a little bit about the needs, but this is important to understand. And I said it a few times, but this is your insulin levels and this is your different macros. So as you can see, carbohydrates significantly increase insulin. Protein has a very moderate effect on insulin, and fat has almost zero impact on insulin. So eating fats with your meals is crucial. So this is why people who are intermittent fasting or fasting just in general, they can have certain fats like MCT oil, because that does not raise your blood sugar. And ultimately, when you're fasting, that's one of the main goals. So the average requirement for protein for women, it's 80 to 120 grams per day. Seems like a lot. Men, it's 120 to 140 grams per day. And essentially how that's calculated is based on your body weight. So 0.8 to 1.2 grams per kilogram of body weight. So obviously that can vary quite a bit if you are exercising, weightlifting, protein levels can go much higher because your body definitely needs that. But 0.8 would be like the minimum. So you can do that calculation for yourself. And it's also important to know that approximately 25 to 35 grams per meal is ideal, because your body can only take up and utilize so much protein at once. So if there's some people that choose to have like an 8-ounce steak, that is, say, 60 to 70 grams of protein, they're only going to take up about 35 grams of that and utilize that protein for all the essential things that I had just talked about. And then the rest would be converted and can be converted to fat and be stored as fat. So some research will argue with that, but I will just say over all the years that I've been learning about protein and, protein absorption and utilization, it really is ideal to break up the protein throughout the day. So some challenges with eating enough, which I have challenges eating protein because I don't love meat and I don't like cooking. But anyway, the meal prep, so most protein has to be cooked. It absolutely, needs to be well sourced. Lean protein is relatively expensive, but I say buy the really fresh organic because animals these days are eating a lot of different things that they shouldn't be eating, very inflammatory foods, and a lot of them are living on antibiotics because of infections and things like that. So definitely make sure you're choosing the healthy organic brands. And I know it's a little more expensive, but it will be worth it in the long run. Dairy or soy-based foods and supplements are problematic in some individuals because of sensitivities. So that's, and those are kind of easier to get in protein. So some people can't eat that. Protein powders can be really helpful. Definitely want to make sure you're doing a high quality because there are some really, really, really bad ones that are sitting on the shelves at like Walmart and Walgreens and things like that. So keep that in mind. So just to give you an idea of like how much protein is in a food. So if you think of like meat, salmon, 3 ounce. So there's basically in 1 ounce of meat, there's going to be 7 grams of protein. So approximately a 3 ounce piece of salmon will have about 20 to 21 grams. Steak is maybe a little more protein rich, but it's pretty standard that 1 ounce is about 7 grams. And you can get some protein with peas. However, you're getting a ton of carbs with that. Tofu has a good amount of protein. Beans and nuts and chickpeas have some protein, not as high as animal protein. Animal protein is definitely going to be your best bet. But again, if you're just looking for protein without the carbohydrates, that's going to be, your eggs, your tuna, so more of your animal products, salmon and steak. So these all, the nuts, the seeds, the chickpeas, tofu, and the vegetables will all come with some carbohydrates. So fats, good or bad? Hopefully by now, everybody knows that healthy fats are so crucial and essential to life. And they also help you burn more of your own body fat. So we've heard about trans fat. So these are horrible. They've been taken off the market. I think they're still kind of being incorporated in some of the really heavily processed foods. But time after time, it's been shown that they are very damaging to the body. So they're artificial. Saturated fats are a single bond carbon. So these types of fats become solid at room temperature. So that would be like your coconut oil, beef oil, bacon fats will become solid. And so then you have your unsaturated fats, which are double bond. It's a double bond chemical structure, and these are fluid at room temperature. So they examples would be monounsaturated. So these are like your olive oils, which most people should be consuming. Sesame oil, peanut oil, olives, avocado, and then polyunsaturated, basically poly. So more than one double bond. And these are the fats that contain the omega-3 and the omega-6 fatty acids. So these are going to be your sunflower, pumpkin seeds, corn, safflower, soybean oil, pine nuts, flax, etc. We're not really going to get into a lot of detail about the different oils in this presentation, but it's really important to do your research on these different oils, because some of them in this category can actually be quite inflammatory. Fats are the most calorically dense out of the macros. So there's 9 calories per gram, whereas carbohydrates have 4 calories per gram, and protein has 4 calories per gram. Essential polyunsaturated fats. So I mentioned that these are the omega-6s and the omega-3. It's really important to note that both of these are essential, meaning our body does not make these essential fats, so we have to get them through the diet. And the omega-6, which is linoleic, and this is the fat that, although it's essential, it is more inflammatory. And what's happening now is it's really found in all of like the processed unhealthy foods. So now we're having this really significant imbalance in the omega-6 and the omega-3. So you can see here, like I said, it's found in most processed foods and fats, pro-inflammatory and excess. Vegetable oils, it's found in vegetable oils. Please don't consume vegetable oils. It's literally immediate inflammation in the body. Dairy, fast food, boxed food. So again, the not very healthy food sources. And then you have omega-3. So these are the essential fats, alpha-linolenic, EPA, DHE, super duper essential to life, very, very healthy, has anti-inflammatory benefits, pretty deficient in our diets. Everybody should be taking a supplement. So many documented studies on the benefits of omega-3s, improving cardiovascular health, your hair, your skin, your nails, improves your brain health. So these would just be some examples. Some of the more common and healthier alternatives, the olive oil, fatty fish like salmon and walnuts have omega-3. So just a list, and I apologize, it's kind of blurry, but the good fats and the bad fats, I think most people would know that. This is the list of the good ones, but maybe most people don't know that canola oil is really, really bad, as well as just the other hydrogenated oils. So there was a study done in Nutrition of the Critically Ill in 2013. I know it's like pretty long time ago, but there's been so many studies that came out in the last 10 years on the gut. But essentially, what we know now is that about 75% of the food in the Western diet is really of no benefit to our microbiome. And most is comprised of refined carbohydrates. It's readily absorbed. So it's called, it's causing these influxes in blood sugars. And it contains almost 0 minerals, 0 fiber. We're supposed to have like 40 to 50 grams of fiber a day, where the average probably is around 5 to 10. So that in itself is affecting the core, the foundation of our body. And again, not to mention just processing, it literally strips the food of its vital compounds, its nutrients, so that it can sit on a shelf for 6 to 12 months. I mean, people just really need to kind of take a step back and start to think about what is happening in the world we live in, and how we can really start not only helping ourselves, but helping our clients make some changes. What's very interesting, and this is something that we do in our practice quite a bit, because now we're looking at the microbiome. We know what's going on. So we know that there's certain species that are correlated with a leaner body, like a ideal body weight to BMI. And then there's some species that are correlated with excess fat, or they have the more propensity to be overweight. And that's essentially just what this particular study showed: profile of the gut microbiota of adults with obesity. And so Bacteroidetes is a category of bacteria that have been associated with adequate body weight, whereas the firmicutes are associated with obesity. So that's pretty well known now within this realm and all the research that has been done. So it's really cool when you can see certain things and start to be really strategic in how you help people move along the spectrum. All right, so we're going to talk about cholesterol because it is like the word that is just so demonized, and I'm not going to do it justice, but I feel like if it does anything, it just really opens your eyes and intrigues you to want to learn more, because we have to stop the madness on the cholesterol. But hopefully I'll be able to help you understand some of that. So in basic terms, cholesterol is a steroid. So it's a small waxy molecule that is essential to life. It makes up every cell membrane in the human body. So we need it. Hormones, progesterone, estrogen, testosterone, cortisol, aldosterone, all of our hormones depend on cholesterol for their existence. When you don't have enough cholesterol, which a lot of people now are walking around with not enough because we're medicating them to very low levels, then you cannot produce your own hormones. It's essential for vitamin D to be made from sunshine. So it's obviously involved in that whole chemical reaction of vitamin D synthesis. 90% of cholesterol in the body is reabsorbed and recycled and transported to all areas that need it at any given time. That's how crucial it is. If it wasn't crucial, the body wouldn't be making it. So that's an important thing to note. The liver can make it whenever needed. So, you were starving on a stranded island and not getting any food, your body can actually make it in those times, because without it, you would die. It's important to know that everybody is very different in how they regulate and manufacture cholesterol. And so this would be this would come into play if you're working with somebody that has more of that familial, hypercholesterolemia, where they are, they have really elevated cholesterol because their body's just overproducing it. So again, that doesn't mean that, they need to be on medication. I mean, there's so many different things that can be done about that. It's just really understanding what physiologically is going on. So what causes high cholesterol? Foods that are high in cholesterol actually do not cause high serum cholesterol. So this is really, really, really important to know. Back in the day, like 10 years ago plus, it's like everyone's looking on the label, cholesterol, oh my gosh, it has low cholesterol, oh my gosh, I can't buy this food. And so that was marketing, that was our government, that was us being told the wrong information. Again, cholesterol does not affect serum cholesterol. Now, what I will say is the diet can absolutely cause high cholesterol, because the diet is poor in causing a stress and causing inflammation in the body. You are going to see elevated cholesterol when the body is under stress. Okay, so it usually starts with that inflammatory process. You're eating a poor diet. Now you have gut issues. Now the liver is congested because the fatty liver. It's multiple things going on because the body is in a sick state. It has nothing to do with the amount of cholesterol in the food. So when cholesterol is elevated, I'm always thinking liver cleanse. We need to check the liver. I mean, everyone needs to do a liver cleanse because everyone's liver is congested and overworked. Certain foods can cause, like I said, cause the inflammation. And what's cool is that cholesterol is no longer listed on the food label, because after all of this time and all of this research that people brought to the FDA and USDA and all that, and they're like, cholesterol has zero relationship with serum cholesterol, take it off. People should not be worrying about that. So they finally did take it off, and it's no longer listed on the labels. A lipid blood test can be valuable, like I said. I feel like there's so many ways and nuances to read into this, but I wanted to just point out, kind of a few things. I guess the first thing is, if you are working with someone and you have, someone has like a cholesterol, think about this. Optimal, less than 200, high, more than 239, intermediate, 200, 239. Literally, people are being put on medication at 201. We're seeing it all the time. It literally drives me nuts. Lowering cholesterol is one of the easiest things to do. So let's take a step back, look a little deeper. What's causing the high cholesterol? Let's just clean up the diet and see what happens. LDL, obviously, if we start seeing really high LDL, really high triglycerides, then there is probably some some metabolic dysfunction, insulin stuff going on. The triglycerides are just sitting in the bloodstream, so causing, again, inflammation. And so really just taking a deeper look at this. And I'll talk a little bit about just LDL cholesterol and HDL, but we need to do, just as a whole, a better, we need to communicate with our patients a little bit more. Again, it's just coming back to like the number of people, including my family, that have been put on these medications because of a 205 or something like that. So enough about that. Just some things that you may not know. There's zero evidence demonstrating that saturated fat is linked to heart disease. Cholesterol in food, I think I said that enough, has zero effect on serum cholesterol. HDL and LDL are not cholesterol at all. They're actually carriers of cholesterol. So factoring that in when you're critiquing and looking deeper into someone's health, maybe it might make sense to look into other testing. Total cholesterol is flawed because it actually includes the HDL in the total. So yeah, that really wouldn't make much sense if you're really relying just on total. And saturated fats actually have a benefit because it increases the HDL levels, which obviously helps shuttle the cholesterol back to, away from like the heart and back to the liver, where it can be recycled and excreted if not used. So this has been validated by research. 75% of people who have heart attacks actually have normal cholesterol levels. Low serum cholesterol has been correlated with higher mortality rates. Higher cholesterol rates are correlated with longevity, believe it or not. Countries that have higher cholesterol levels have lower rates of heart disease. Newer research shows that there are implications of lowering cholesterol levels from statins. Go figure. So all of those things that I said, now we are putting people are losing their vitality. They're losing their energy. We're checking cholesterol levels. There's some people like at 120, even lower than that. Immediately, it's like, we got to start bumping that cholesterol back up, or get off the medication so your body can start producing again. It's really sad, actually. And there's so much coming out about studies demonstrating the rates, the correlations with dementia. So let's talk about cholesterol a little bit more and the benefits. It is vital for maintenance and in the development of our cell walls. The liver uses it to make bile, which is necessary for fat digestion. Like I said before, it's a precursor to vitamin D, so it converts sunlight into vitamin D. If we didn't have it, we wouldn't be able to make our own vitamin D. It's needed for the development of hormones, including the steroid hormones. It helps support the immune system. And its role in T cell regulation helps fight inflammation. That's what I said, because the food. So if a food is causing inflammation, you're going to see an increase in cholesterol because of that. It is essential for the absorption of fat-soluble vitamins. It's used for the uptake of serotonin in the brain. And again, understand that when you see an elevated cholesterol, it's because the body is sick. It's inflamed. There's something going on, gut issues, what have you. There's a stress on the body. So just a bit about exercise. Because when someone is trying to lose weight, this is one of the first things that they either dread or they look forward to doing. So exercise in general is not as critical as diet when it comes to initial weight loss. So you can absolutely have a lot of success without exercising. Exercise is important for long-term management for so many different reasons. But again, it's all about understanding how the body works and targeting that, those abnormal fat stores. You can never, ever, 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 ever out exercise a poor diet. And most people are starting to see this, but you even look at these younger kids who are playing sports, running around all day, and they're overweight because of what they eat. The body, so the reason why you can't out exercise a poor diet, to expand on that a little bit more, is the body is always going to adjust for energy expenditure. It's always trying to maintain homeostasis. So if you eat too much, the body will burn less calories. So it kind of will, I'm sorry, yes, if you eat too much, you will burn more calories. So again, eat too much, you're going to burn more to try to maintain that homeostasis. If you exercise too much, the body will burn less calories. Again, exercise is huge for metabolic health and mental health, regardless of one's weight. So again, calories in versus calories out simply does not work. So there are many reasons why people are nutrient depleted, and there are many people that are walking around with significant nutrient deficiencies. And excess weight in itself is associated with low plasma concentrations of all of these vitamins here: vitamin A, C, D, E, zinc, magnesium, selenium. The popular diets in the food supply is clearly depleted. We're not getting any of these nutrients anymore. And these are vital to human health. Gut health, we all have poor gut health. So we're malabsorbing nutrients. The stress that our bodies are under, our adrenals, they consume our B vitamins so rapidly. So if you're not constantly replacing the B vitamins, you're going to become depleted so quickly. And this applies to athletes too. The stress that their body is under, they have to constantly be repleting with all of these nutrients. So you've heard the adage of like, you are what you eat, but it actually is not true, because you are what you absorb. You can eat many different foods, but the health of our body is not even taking it up or absorbing the majority of it anymore. The current state of patient's gut health must be considered for absorption issues, bioavailability to the body. So, if you are working with somebody to replete certain nutrients, you really should understand like the different forms, the methylated, the chelated, the things that are going to be enhanced when consuming versus literally just going through and doing nothing. Nutrient deficiencies over time can literally start to cause disease. Vitamin A plays a role in insulin sensitivity. Thiamine is so important. Just the B vitamins, these are the B vitamins. Pantothenic acid supports lipid metabolism. B12 is significant. Majority of people are walking around with this deficiency. It's essential for energy and metabolism. Vitamin D, majority people are deficient. And that supports so many different systems in the body, but it's huge for the immune system and glucose metabolism. Chromium is huge for insulin. And what we actually know, that a diet that is high in refined sugar may increase chromium excretion by up to 300%. Biotin, crucial, another B vitamin for carbohydrate metabolism, and magnesium. All of these. I mean, every single person that I see, I put them on magnesium. Vitamin D not always B12, and then like a B complex, every single one of them. So let's wrap this up. Many things contribute to weight loss and weight gain. The foundation is metabolic health and gut health. So you're going to have both simultaneously. Statistics are alarming because we are not helping people that the way that they need to be helped. We need to really understand how this is all coming together. We must understand the body so that we can help move them along. We have to be proactive. You know, our testing, our diagnostic testing is end stage. You know, this is something that, again, is another piece that we're going to be talking a lot about. We must get patients off of processed food, and we must look beyond. Let's stop saying restrict and exercise, because that will work maybe 2% of the time. So what can you do? Again, talked about a couple things in part one. So what you can do, what you can add to your list is looking deeper into what your patients are supplementing with, because this could either be hurting them or helping them. Develop a symptom assessment. Get a gauge on what is going on. We have an awesome symptom assessment that we would definitely be willing to share with people, because it tells a really nice story. And again, fasting insulin levels. Let's rule out metabolic dysfunction right away, because almost 90% are dealing with it. And so there's a good hunch that your patients are you're treating them with something when they're dealing with something else. So that is about it. And our next presentation is going to be more details on gut health. And then we are also going to be talking about genetics, and then the